No one has ever ridden a rainbow. No one is perfect in this world. Just as no one has ever ridden a rainbow, no one will be perfect either. That is exactly why humans can never achieve it. This is a quote that describes Kiruma Souichi, the main antagonist from Usogui, perfectly. A man bound by his own philosophy, shackled by his belief in destiny. I always found perfectionism to be a pretty interesting theme in any form of media. Being hyper-obsessed with making no mistakes in something specific, or perhaps in everything, is a recipe for greatness or disaster, if not both. It can create the absolute best in something, but an obsession with the unreachable can also spark someone's fall from greatness. And Sako Tosho's depiction of perfection through Kiruma Souichi is the most interesting one I've seen so far in media. Before we dive into it, I will shortly give some context into the series and the characters. Since it's not that popular, I'm sure there's gonna be people watching this that don't know the manga. So Usogui is a gambling manga about a guy named Madarame Baku, a man obsessed with gambling, and his goal is to become the leader of an organization named kakerou, an organization with the main role of hosting high-stakes gambles. And we are not talking only about lots of money, it's often about life and death gambles, so you know they're not playing around. There are 101 referees with the role of supervising the gambles that take place between kakerou members. They make sure that everything is played by the rules that they agreed on, and also that the debt is collected after the gambles are over. You can take over the organization, however, if you defeat their leader in a gamble, that is, Kiruma Souichi. And that's the goal of Baku, to take over kakerou. But to even challenge the leader, you need to be a kakerou member, you need to have the referee number 0 as your exclusive referee, aka the best, and to have 50 billion yen. All this just to challenge the leader. And trust me, just getting to challenge him is the easy part. So that's the summary of the plot. Today, we will focus on the leader, Kiruma Souichi, and why he is so obsessed with perfection. Firstly, I think I should emphasize on what it even means to be a referee. The ideology that kakerou goes by is perfection, fairness and neutrality. Since they are dealing with dangerous and influential people, they are not allowed to make mistakes. They need to be smart to understand the game and rules to notice if someone is cheating, often making the games themselves, and to be able to respond to anything, so insane decision making and fighting skills are crucial. Even if they can't always be perfect, they need to have the mentality that mistakes are not allowed. And so, Souichi, being their leader, of course is obsessed with it. But it goes deeper than this. He wasn't the one to really start it. In fact, Kiruma is just a product of his father, the leader before him. He was nurtured by the higher-ups into becoming obsessed with perfection. He was always shown tapes of referees executing their jobs flawlessly, and a tape of his mother's death and how she talks about destiny. His shackles were implanted by his family since a young age. I think he is quite a tragic character. He was simply nurtured into becoming the way he is. And the most interesting and confusing part about him throughout the series is his memory loss. Throughout Usogui, the main antagonist appears to be really weird and hard to understand at times. That is because he often loses his memories, and you learn really late about it, and even later on to why it even happens. So basically, due to the expectations that were set by his family for him, by being forced into becoming the leader of a group of people that need to be perfect, the elite of the elites, he developed a severe sense of responsibility on being even more perfect. As their leader, it makes sense he needs to be even better. And so, due to this severe burden, whenever he makes a mistake, he loses his memory, bits and bits with every mistake. It will come back, but not all. To be honest, it's pretty complicated and I forgot how it truly works, like how much he forgets and gains back. But the main thing to take from this is that he developed a psychological response to shield him from the mistake that he made. His brain just can't accept the idea that he wasn't perfect. That's how obsessed he is with perfection. And all of it was implanted by the people that took care of him. So I can't help but feel bad for him. And in contrast, the main character, Baku Madarame, is the exact opposite. He is chasing his goal just because he wants to. He isn't bound by beliefs implanted by others into him. He is free, unlike Souichi. Although he faces some real tough internal struggles, there is a moment where he defeats his condition, and I consider it to be his highest peak. He is having a gamble with an opponent that he actually lost to a long time ago, but of course he doesn't remember that. As he makes a mistake, we get to see for the first time just what goes inside his mind when it happens. The difference is that this time, he is able to fight that part of himself that shields him from defeat. He screams, If you want me to be perfect, give them back all of the me's, Boku, and myself's, Watashi. This is the moment where he accepts his mistakes, regaining his memories, he achieves his version of perfection. And I mean, he's an absolute monster in this state, like bro was shitting on our main character in the last arc while on that state, generational fight. Also, the reason it says Boku and Watashi is actually because whenever he loses his memory really recently, he uses Boku, and when it's been longer, he uses Watashi. This is insane foreshadowing, as throughout the series you see him use both. Or you would if the foreshadowing wasn't lost on translation. Sadly, Usogui doesn't have an official English release, but I heard the author wants to make one since it got popular in the West somewhat recently, so hype. But yeah, talking about Usogui's foreshadowing is a whole nother video. Like, it's actually insane how many details are there. Back on track though. After accepting his defeats and regaining his memories, bro gets schizo as fuck. He starts talking about being an alien, invading Earth and enslaving humanity, like he is on some shrooms for sure. He says all those stuff because he reached his version of perfection. He is like a higher being, an alien. I think it's time to get into what I believe to be his most overlooked part when it comes to his character, his visual symbolism. The amount of symbolistic depth Kiruma Souichi has is insane. A really obvious one is here in the chapters with him regaining all his memories. He describes perfection as being able to manipulate every part of yourself at your own will, and we see him play with imaginary Rubik's cubes. You can move every part of a Rubik's cube however you like, so it obviously symbolizes Kiruma Souichi's perfection. This one is pretty easy to spot, but what I think people overlook is his mole in the center of his forehead and his hair. Let's start with the mole. I look at it as two things. One is a representation of him being a higher being. It's like a third eye. It connects with his alien monologue, needing to be one to lead a group of people that strive for perfection. As their leader, he needs to be one step above, and what could even be above human perfection? An alien. The second idea that the mole symbolizes is Kiruma's belief in fate. His mother also had a mole, and Souichi was shown a tape of her death, talking about destiny and her having clairvoyance abilities. I mean, she did predict her death, and she accepted it. Souichi's mother was pregnant with him at the time of her death, and she told him in that tape, "If you really are extraordinary, don't worry, you won't die." And, spoiler alert, he didn't fucking die. That tape feeded into Kiruma's trust in destiny, and so the mole represents the need for perfection to lead kakerou, and it's shown in his way of being anonymous even for most kakerou members, like a higher being, and his trust in destiny. Now, with the hair, here again we have two things. Firstly, no matter the hairstyle, Kiruma Souichi always has a strand of hair sticking out, similar to his father. It symbolizes the bloodline. Due to being born in this family, he will be the next leader of kakerou, following in his father's footsteps even if he likes it or not. He is bound to kakerou, forced into taking the role of the leader, all of it masked through the idea of destiny, again, a product of his parents. For the second part of his hair symbolism, I need to mention that this man has multiple nicknames. Kiruma Souichi, his real name, Hal, a nickname given to him by Baku, and Hachina Naoki, an alias he uses in day-to-day life and with people unrelated to kakerou. Throughout Usogui, we see him with two distinct haircuts. The slick back. You know, we have a word for this type of haircut in Romania, lins de vacă, which means cow-licked. Yeah, I just wanted to throw this useless fact out there. Anyway, it's similar to his father's hair and it is used when he is represented as the leader of kakerou. The other is a really messy one, and it is shown when we really get to see him in action for the first time. Right after losing his memories, being Hachina Naoki, in his mind having no ties with kakerou. It resembles the escape from his destined role, his obligations. The hairstyle is somewhat similar to that of Baku, both being messy, and Baku Madarame is, as I mentioned earlier, someone free, not trusting in destiny. It's the moment when Souichi can taste freedom, which is what he truly wants deep down. Even his mole is somewhat hidden with this hairstyle, showing even further his momentary escape from the shackles of destiny and his bloodline. And I say momentary because, if you notice, there is one thing that never left him throughout the years. That is that goddamn strand of hair. A reminder that he cannot escape the curse of being in this bloodline, the destiny of being the leader of kakerou. That part of him never left, even when he forgot his duty, and even in his memory loss, Kakerou looked for him. The referees searched for their leader, and he was always found within gambles and Kakerou matches as Hachina Naoki, or even as Hal. Kiruma Souichi can't escape the bloodline. The main antagonist of Usogui is looked at as an intelligent leader, good in everything, handsome. He is an actual aura farmer. If you don't look into him as a character, that's what he is, but looking into him more deeply, I see a really tragic character, the product of his parents, forcing their philosophies into him. He isn't just Sigma aura farmer cool strong guy. Sadly, most characters that are like this on the surface have the worst fan bases. Fake fans that only like the character for the Sigma stuff and don't care about the character itself. Anyway, that's a whole ass video about this type of characters and their perception online. Yeah, there are still other things to Kiruma Souichi, such as his build-up, the Prince Bee symbolism, but I didn't touch on it due to it being about his dynamic with Baku. Generational dynamic, by the way. But this video was focused on him as a character alone and his internal struggles. He is, in my opinion, one of the best anime-manga antagonists out there. Not on the Griffith and Johan level, but worth to be in the honorable mentions of all-time greats. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and a sub, follow the Twitter. If you don't, then I'll, well, do nothing. But I'll appreciate it.